Okay, so I'm going to talk about how I made the Mii Maker, but first I just want to go over how to use it. So I'm using 4.0, which is in beta right now. You can also use this with 4.0. The only thing that will be different is the bone collections, but it works pretty much the same. So I'm not really going to cover the main differences. Like, I'm not going to open up 4.0, but I will explain it. It's not very different at all. So this is what it should look like when you open it up. You will already be in pose mode. You want to stay in pose mode, and it should already be in either render view or material preview, which is these two circles over here. If it looks gray or something like that, then just make sure that you're in one of these modes up there. So we have these selectors, the blue rectangles, and you just want to left click those, and you can use the arrows to move to change different categories like this. And right now these all move very smoothly, but I am going to update it soon that makes them snap into place so it's more apparent. You don't have, in the middle like that. But right now this is how it works. It might look a little different when you come around to actually using it, but it'll work basically the same, so don't worry too much about it. So yeah, basically you can either use the arrows to move it like that, or you can press G for grab. That's how I remember it. So you just switch to the part, left click when you're in the place where you want, then you can left click the other selectors. So now we're selecting the head, can, change the head. We can go to hair. So I'm just left clicking and pressing G for all of these. So now, select the hair, change it to whatever you want. Let's get some eyebrows like that. Change it to whatever you want. You can move pretty fast. Got some lips. In the lip section, we also have a beauty mark. That's what this is right here. I'll talk a little more about this later when I get into color and stuff like that. But yeah, we have a beauty mark. Then we have nose, glasses, mustache. We have beards. This is makeup, which also has, some like 5 o'clock shadow. The reason it's in here is I think in the original Mii Maker, there's, it's in this section, and it also uses a different color. So if you want, like a beard that's a weird color, different than, you can basically have like 2 beard options. So that's convenient. And then we have wrinkles at the end, so you can have things like wrinkles. Another thing you should know about moving around is if you want to, like if you press G, you want to place it, you left click. You can press Control Z to go back, press G, and if you decide that you didn't want to grab it at all, you don't want to start moving it, then you right click and it snaps back to where it was. So that's really useful. That's just like a beginner Blender thing. You can also change where all the features are over here. So let's change the eye. That's what all these little circles are for. So I know that one is for the eye because if we go up here to the top left, you can see that it says eye, transform L. Just focus on, the body part in there. So we can move that. You just select it, press G like that to move it around. If we want to place it, we left click. You can also rotate with R for rotate, and S for scale like that. If you want to, finalize it, you left click. If you want to, cancel the operation, then you right click and it snaps back. So you can do that for like all of these parts. A lot of them are shrink wrapping, like snapping to the head so that they're easy to move around and, they don't start clipping through the head and stuff like that. What else? You can also reset the location with Alt G. So you can see it just snapped back, and you can reset the rotation and scale the same way. So it's instead of G to move, R to rotate, and S to scale, you can reset all of those with Alt G, Alt R, and Alt S. So you see it just scaled back. You can also box select as long as you see this icon up here. It's like a little pointer with a box around it. That means you're in box select mode. If you don't see that, then you must have accidentally clicked something. You can just press W and it cycles through. Just go until it gets to box select. You can just select all of the face parts right here, and we can reset all of them with Alt-G, Alt-R, and Alt-S, and they should all snap back. If you want to reset all of the parts, like everything, including over here, the selections you made, then you can press A to select everything. It should select all of the bones. Then you can press Alt-G. Nothing should be rotated or scaled, but you can do Alt-R and Alt-S as well. So now we're back to the beginning, which is good. If you want to deselect everything, that's Alt-A. So now nothing is selected. So A to select all, Alt-A to deselect everything. So let's see what else we have. We have the camera. So right now we're looking through the camera, and everything should work in this view. But if you move around, so I'm using like the middle mouse button to move around right now. If you find yourself like out of the camera and you want to go back in, you can press 0 on the numpad and it will go back. If you don't have a number pad, then you can use this camera icon over here, and it just toggles, so you can just press that to go in and out of the camera. We also have all these other options here. You know, if you don't have like a middle mouse button or whatever, you can navigate with like all of these options on the side. But I mostly want to draw attention to the camera right here, so you can go in and out. Next we have color. So on the left over here, we have these color options. You can just go through and, you know, change the colors, things like that. Yeah, there's nothing really special about this. It's just color selectors. You can change whatever you want. There are a few like cool things you can do. Like, let's set this to something like black or whatever. If you want to copy paste, all you have to do is hover over the color you want to copy and then press Control C. Then you can hover over another color and Control V, and you know, then it'll paste it. You can do the same thing this way. I'll copy the skin color, paste that to the hair, paste it to the pants and to the skin, and now our character looks green and naked. I'm just gonna Control Z to go back. We have lens opacity for if you have glasses. Again, I'm planning on adding some things to this list of colors over here. Like right now, we don't have any options for the mouth. So I will change that soon, but right now you can't change the color of the mouth. But you do have a lot of different color options, so you can change like the, let's move this. You can change like the color of the eyes. So we have an iris color in here, and you can change it to whatever color you'd like. You can also change the eye white color. So these eyes, they don't have whites, but if you change it over here, then you can, you know, change that to a different color if you want to. If you want to make a person with yellow eyes or something like that. Let's see, we have mustache, beard, makeup. Makeup, there are 3 colors. And this is basically what I plan on doing with the eyes to get a different pupil color too in the future. But right now, makeup has 3 colors. You can see there are 3 distinct colors. We have this like pale blue, this like reddish, and then this like gray. And you can see that reflected over here. So you don't have to actually select anything to put it on to see the colors change. They change over here. So you can see the colors changing like that. And yeah, and then we also have an opacity like that. So you can actually move, let's reset everything. You can move the makeup and the wrinkles and the beard and all that. So the makeup and the wrinkles are between the eyes. So you can see we have makeup right here and we have wrinkles. So if we select that, we can move it, we can rotate it. I have it so it's staying in the center, but if you want to shut that off, there's this arrow in the corner, or you can press, so you can drag this out like that, or you can press N. All you have to do is unlock this little icon right here, and then you'll be able to move it around the face, basically everywhere on the x-axis. But just for ease of use, I left some things to be locked in the middle, like the nose as well. The mouth, I didn't lock because I kind of like being able to move it to the side like this. I think that's a nice thing to be able to do. But you can also move wrinkles, so you can get kind of creative with, you know, what you do with the wrinkles. You could flip them upside down, whatever. Try some weird shapes. All right, and if you want to reset all of the colors, you actually have to have Node Wrangler installed, but it's free. So if you don't know what that is, just go to Edit, Preferences, Add-ons. You can search for Node Wrangler, and then just make sure that this is turned on. And then just to make sure that it stays on next time you open it up, you can save preferences. And then all you have to do is make sure that it's selected right here, and you just hover over this like heading right here, and you press backspace, and it should reset everything to the default. Another cool thing you can do is with this palette up here. So this is just for color reference mostly, but you can also use a color picker to pick these colors. So specifically, I think this will be useful for like if you just want to get to like close to a normal like real life skin tone really fast. That's what this bottom row is. So basically to do the color picker, you just hover over one of these and press E, and then it will turn to this eyedropper, and then you can hover over anything anywhere. I think you can even use this on other windows, but you can hover over something over here and just like pick a color. So these aren't the best colors, but it should get you close to like a normal skin color, I guess, like a real life one. So, you know, you can pick whatever you want over here, you know, and then if you want to alter it, you can just come in here, change things around, you know. So that's all about color. We also have animation. So if you press the space bar, there's an animation already baked in with this little emote. It goes for about 300 frames, and then it restarts. This is already like baked in, so if you pull this up, you can see it's like a whole ton of keyframes. You can delete these if you want. You know, they don't have to be here. But I do recommend if you make any changes and you want to like save a character, to file save as. That way your original file is unchanged, and if you want to like go back to like a clean file, you can just open up this file again. If you do accidentally save over this, you can just download it again from Gumroad. You don't have to like go to the product page. It should be in your Gumroad library, and you just download it from there, and it should be the fresh new file. But yeah, we have, like I said, we have the animation down here, which is just a nice touch, I think, just to see the character in action. But we also have posing. So right now we're in like part picking mode. And to see that, basically just go over to the right over here. You should see data. It's object data properties. It's like a little running person. You click on that and then go under bone collections right here. So in 4.1, you will have these like toggle drop downs. In 4.0, you don't have these. So basically, you'll have all of the same names, but you won't have any drop down options. That's the only difference between 4.0 and 4.1 right now. But basically, if you're in 4.1, all you have to do is turn off part picking, and it should get rid of all of these options. And then you turn on pose controls, and then you can move things around the same way. Basically, you just select these controllers and press G, And this is set up to use IK, which just means you control things from the hands and the feet instead of like further down, like from like the shoulder. So you can move the arms like this. If you want to change where the elbow is pointing, that's what these things are for, these spheres that are just floating. So that's to move the elbows. This is a center of gravity if you want to spin your character all the way around, make them do a flip, something like that. So I'm just pressing R to rotate and then X. So it's rotating it on the X axis. This is for the hips like that. You can rotate that. This one is kind of flat, but that's for the head. It's a circle, but it's kind of angled perpendicular to the camera. But that's how you move the head like that. You can rotate it. You can't scale it because these aren't deforming bones. These are just for controlling. This is for the whole torso. These are for the knees. These are for the legs, like that. Another useful thing that I just did is something called local rotation. Basically, everything's in global right now, and you can see that up here. And that just means that if you rotate something on the Z-axis, it's always going to pay attention to the world Z-axis. But each of these have like their own local axis too. So if you want the feet to go up like this, they're already on the X-axis, but say you want it to rotate the same way when they're already like this, then you can rotate it on the local X-axis by pressing R, X, and then X again, like that. And now you can see it's rotating at a slightly different angle, but it's like consistent with the angle of the foot. So yeah, that's how you do that. Oh, and this is just to move everything like that. You can reset all of this, again, by A to select everything, Alt-G, Alt-R, and Alt-S, like that. But if you have all these keyframes, like if you didn't delete them, then you can basically just press play and it'll snap back because all of these parts are already animated. You also have face controls, which are hidden. So you have to open this up and turn on face like that. I might change this so that it's like on by default. But now we have options to move the face around again. But it's a little different because when you're in part picking mode and you want to reset this, you press Alt-G and it snaps back. But when you're in pose mode over here and you press Alt-G, it won't snap back. It snaps back to where you first placed it when you were part picking. So yeah. So if I, drag it down and press Alt-G, you can snap it back to where it was originally. This just makes it so you don't mess up the changes that you made in part picking. But yeah, you can move those around. We also have these little toggles over here. And I guess this is getting into like more advanced stuff. So if you're a beginner, you might not really want to worry about all this. But these two over here are for changing the eyes. We have the part you selected, then the closed, and then this kind of like squinting. And then this one is for the mouth. And again, we have the one you selected, we have the O mouth, and we have like an open mouth like that. So if you want, you can check out some of these other ones, other collections in here. We have FK, but I have it set up to use IK, so I don't really recommend messing with this if you're a beginner, but if you want, you can come in here. Again, I might add controls for this, but I'm not sure yet. But if you want to turn IK off, you just have to select the yellow bone, then go over to bone constraints, and then you can turn this off. You can do that with all of the IK bones if you really want to. You can just select all of them, the feet and the neck, I believe, and then hold Alt and turn all of them off. And then you should be able to actually use everything in FK mode, basically. Let's see. Do I have... This one also has copy rotation and copy scale on it, so you can turn that off if you really want to also. If you really just want to customize stuff, then you can go through and change all this. Let's go back. We also have like shrink wrapping options. Again, I'm going to change some of the shrink wrapping options to make it a little easier to use and make it easier to turn it on and off. But right now it isn't that way. But if you want, you can turn shrink wrapping off for, say, like the mouth. You can see how it's like sticking to the head. If you want that to not be the case, when that's selected, you just go to bone constraints right here, and then you can just turn it off, and now you can move it wherever you want. Alternatively, you can turn snapping on as an option up here. So I would just set this to face and keep it on center right there. And now when you're moving around, you can press Control and it will snap to whatever you're hovering over, basically. So it will snap to the face over here now. But the way that this is built, a lot of stuff is just images on planes, so it's actually snapping to the plane. But, you know, like I said, this is kind of getting into advanced stuff at this point. I kind of crept into showing you how it works secretly. Okay, so I'm just going to reopen this to get everything fresh, and I'll just talk a little about how I actually made it. So if you, actually one more thing first. If you go into object mode and select the eye or the mouth, so we have the eye selected, you can go to modifiers. This is where you can select the other two eyes and the other two mouths. So that'll be more apparent if you're, you know, in pose mode and you have the face controls exposed right here. So if I move this down like that, actually, let's turn symmetry off. So now we have one of each, and same for like the mouth or whatever. Now go back into object mode. You can select the eye over here. That is not the eye. That's the eye. Okay, now if we want, we can actually change what the other eye is. I think these are the good like ones by default for most like expressions you're gonna make. But if you want, you can change those. Let's see. I believe it was 7. You can do the same thing for the mouth. You see we have different mouth shapes. So that's how that works. Let's see. So first of all, if you, just to explain a little about how it works, everything is using bones for selecting things. The bones actually have like other parts attached that are all hidden. So again, I'm just gonna reset everything just so I don't have to, it's just quicker to do it this way. Okay, so so these are actually just bones, and they have you know, custom objects. So, you know, if I want, I could delete that and then we just see the bone in there. But it's actually moving, let's see. If I go over here, I'll find the body one. You can see I have something called a body picker, and it's hidden right now. But this is what it's actually moving, and it's just hidden. So that's what's actually being tracked in geometry nodes to make the picker work. Because geometry nodes, you can't find the location of a bone right now, as far as I know. So it probably would have made more sense to use an empty for this, but this is what I made it pretty quickly. I made it in like 2 weeks. And I am about to release the video in like 30 minutes. So I'm literally working on this to the last second. But yeah, that's what it's tracking in geometry nodes to make all of these part switchers work. So all of these part switchers are actually just planes. Like this is what the nose is made out of right now. And it's just instancing from the nose collection onto that plane, and that's how it works. So let's just take a look at geometry nodes right now. You can see this is the part switcher. It's actually not too complex. It looks a little more complex because there are like a bunch of group inputs, but I'll try to explain how it works. Let's see. So a lot of these are just tracking. So this is the collection. This is like, if we have the nose selected, then it's selecting the nose collection. You can see that over here. I have a spot for nose, and I have a picker object also. So what it's doing is, this is actually for the part that switches between like the nose, switches the eyes and the mouth. So this is actually a whole separate part. Let's see though. This is the part I believe that we need. So usually what I do is this. It's just you have a collection info going into delete geometry, and you're deciding which what index you want. And this will choose. You can see all of these switching. So it's just choosing the first option for all of the parts, which is 0. Now it's choosing the second option, third option, what all of this is doing is making it so that it's trying to figure out where the picker object is and which instance in the collection is like closest to it. That's what this whole part is doing right here. So it's important that both of these are set to relative, because that means that like if you move them in object mode, if you move them in edit mode, whatever, it will update appropriately. And that's like what the sample nearest is basically just finding where the location of the picker object is. It's getting the position right here. What the scale instances is doing is basically making it so that it's scaling things down to a single point, and that's what it's checking the distance to, like to see which one is closest. That way, it's basically looking at the origin point, roughly. It's as if like you're scaling it down completely. This makes it a little easier because you can see all of these are planes that are kind of like touching at the corners. So there are instances when like it would be hard to tell like what it's actually closest to because there are overlapping points. So it's a lot easier to basically just scale all of them down, and then you're checking the distance to the scaled point like that. So that's why I scaled it all the way down. Also, it makes more sense to scale them as instances, because if you use something like scale elements, it scales each like mesh island separately. But yeah, that's how that works. Then I have the part in here that is just, it's picking two different objects for like the mouth and for the eyes. And that is just based on the index number, which makes it a little more consistent because that way if I move stuff around, it's not going to actually like switch which part is being picked, because the index is based on just like how it's ordered in the collection here. So this would be index 0, 1, 2, 3. But these are not actually in the same order as they are visually. Let's see if I can. Oh, that's for head. Let's go to hair. Yeah, okay, so Yeah, so this is index 0. These are all out of order. This is index 1, this is index 2. So when I imported them, all the hair shapes, they weren't in like the order that they were here. So I actually went through and I had to like change like where they were arranged. And then I was like kind of running out of time. So I didn't actually rename them based on index, but that's okay because this is all based on, you know, proximity, like how close it is to the picker. And that's how it works. I guess I should talk about how everything is parented up because this was something I kind of discovered was, so I tried weight painting everything first. But the problem with that is if you weight paint it, it's actually just moving this plane right here. That's what you're weight painting. So then you move it around and it doesn't move. So what I actually did was I took this and I parented it directly to the bone instead of weight painting it. So to do that, you just select the part. So I'm going to select the nose, then shift select the armature, then go into pose mode, select the bone you want, control P to parent, and then parent to the bone right there. And then it just works. I did also try like adding vertex groups for weight painting basically to like some of the parts over here. But that information it's not destroyed when you pass it through geometry nodes, but it makes it so that they no longer function like vertex groups for like weight painting. Everything is turned into a generic attribute, and it makes it so that the armature modifier doesn't recognize it basically. So that information gets like lost in the process, so it doesn't work when you try to do it that way. I think another thing I tried to do was I made it so that it was using bone constraints or not bone constraints, using just regular constraints and like tracking the location and the scale and the rotation and all that. But that meant that I needed to have like a new object basically for each bone. And it was tracking that object. I think you might be able to make it track a bone. Let's see. Yeah, you can make it track a bone. But that's like, I think it's a little more complicated dealing with a bunch of constraints compared to just parenting it directly to a bone. So that's what I did. It worked. And it worked surprisingly well, which was very convenient. Let's see, what else do I have in here that I should explain how I did? So the body is a little different because I did have to weight paint the body. So I kind of, you can see in here, I have a different setup called body switcher. And this is actually more simple than the other one because it is just, working based on like the index number. But I set it up in such a way so that it's no longer using proximity. So if I moved this body, I don't think, like if I move these, it's still going to act like they're in the same spot, and that's not how it works with the other objects. Like, if I wanted to, I could like move the eye. Oh, I can't actually because are they all locked? They're all locked. I locked them in place so they would be harder to move. But basically, let's just undo that. Break it. Basically, if I move this away, now this one is the closest. So now it's like, it will change depending on like what's actually the closest. The body doesn't do that because of the way that I had the weight painting work. Let's see, and it's switching between two two bodies. So I actually have like separate ones for the bodies that are being displayed here. I think that's what this one is. And then I have another one that's body with weights. And these are the ones that are actually working with the armature. The reason for that is because if I have these using weights, but the armature is over here, then these get kind of like distorted and stuff because it's trying to like, you know, you move the arm bone over here and the arm is like pivoting around some spot that's over here. So they all look weird and messed up. So I had to treat the body a little differently, which it wasn't too bad because it's just one part, you know, these two parts or whatever. Everything else, it was much more convenient because they don't deform. They're all just like solid pieces that float around. All right. I think, let's see. I just have some gizmos. These are what I'm using for some of the bone shapes. So that's what that is. And then I have a color control, which is another hidden thing that contains this group right here. So the color was tricky. I worked on it for a while trying to figure out a solution that's a little more like, I don't know, with a UI that's better than this, basically. I tried using custom properties, which you can find like at the bottom of a lot of these sections. You can add new properties and then you can link these to things. But the way that the way that you have to do it with color is like pretty annoying, where you have to use drivers, but you can't just get a driver of the color. You can't just use a driver for the color. You have to use drivers for each individual like hue, saturation value, and RGB. They're actually like different ones. So if someone switched between RGB and HSV or hex or whatever, then like it wouldn't work right. And it was much more annoying to set up. So I scrapped that idea and basically just went to this method right here, which it's just a node group called colored control, and inside of it is the group output. This skin right here is just kind of left over from me working on it. It doesn't actually do anything because it's not connected to anything. I was kind of just using this for making inputs mostly, but yeah. So I was adding things to here, and you have to control it from inside. And then, you know, when I select something else in here, you can see that now that I have this selected, I have a Mii shirt. It has two. It has shirt and pants, two materials. And I'm just using the output from the color control to control the base color. So that's an easy way, I guess, of controlling a bunch of different material colors from like a separate from one point, basically. So like I can control all of the colors in here that I actually have set up. So if I want the pants, then this is just a separate material and it's just using the pants right here. For something like the eyes, it gets a little more complicated. Let's see, let's just select one of the eyes. So now, you know, I have the eye sprite right here. This is what it actually looks like, and there is some transparency. So with this, basically what I was doing was trying to select what is black, what is white, and what is gray, and that's what this group is for. So I'm just checking the distance to, and there's one that has one eye that has makeup also, so I'm selecting that. But I'm basically just checking the color from the original image and seeing how far away, like the distance from some other color that I'm, you know, specifying here. Then I'm saying like, you know, is the distance close to 0? And if it is, then, you know, control this. So that's how this works. And then I just, you know, plug everything in over here. Right now, I don't have the black set up to do anything because you can see it controls the outline and the pupil. And I would like for that to actually be a separate control so that you can change the pupil separately. I think that would be better. Right now, it's a little broken, so I don't have that as an option. I think adding a roughness control for everything, just I don't want to make this messy by having to be like shirt roughness, pants roughness, skin roughness. So I think just having like an overall roughness slider that it controls like everything maybe might be a better idea. Just so that like if you want your character to be really shiny or like have no reflections or whatever, then you can do that really fast. Otherwise, you just have to like select the parts over here, which is kind of annoying, but yeah. So let's see. I think I did a similar thing with the makeup and with the glasses. The glasses, let's see. The glasses, the original color, again, is like this black for the frames and then gray for the ones that have transparency. So I did a similar thing there where I'm just checking to see how, what is close to black. And then I'm, doing that. Let's hook this back up. And then again, I have everything plugged in with this group node. Yeah. Makeup was one of the things I did last, and you can tell because I had a much better like system, and it was basically just using RGB. So I changed the original colors in here to use pure like red, green, and blue. And use those as ways of like separating the colors. And that's why there are 3 distinct makeup colors. And then I can just mask based on those. I don't have to do any like checking the distance to a color to see how similar they are. So I think something like that could be helpful for the eyes and for the lips, things like that. But that's a thing like it's a thing I have to do. I have to edit the original image, and it shouldn't take too long, maybe like a day or two, to just like go through and make sure everything is matching properly. But that's how I plan on going about fixing the pupil like color, and also for like I could do the same thing for the lips, so the lips can be a different color. I guess if I really wanted to, I could do the same thing for like the black, and for like the teeth, and I guess like it would make sense to use a different color for the outline and for like the inside. So if you wanted, you could make like inside be red, like it's a tongue or something like that, and the outline would still be black. That's a thing that I could potentially do. I feel like that's kind of it, right? Like, did I do anything else? Most of like what I did here, like most of what I did was from scratch, I guess. Like I modeled the body, I modeled all the heads, I modeled all of the noses. The hair I imported, like I show in the video. And all the 2D elements, well, not all of the 2D elements, but most of the 2D elements I ripped from the Mii Maker website. As I showed in the video too, I basically just inspected the element and then, copied the SVG and pasted it. That way I could get something that's a little more high res, compared to just like screenshotting the website, which, that probably would have been much faster. So I probably should have just done that, but this way I have like more control for like changing colors and stuff like that. So that's pretty nice. But I did, I was telling the truth about like all the noses. I modeled all the noses and did the 2D elements myself. I did the same thing with the eyebrows. And I think I think that's it. I did alter a lot of these. Like I made these thinner than in the actual selector because they look a little different. Like in the ones that I got from the site, they look much thicker, probably because they're small, so it's like easier to view. But when they actually appear on the character, they like made them thinner on the website. So, if I used them directly ripped from the site, then they didn't actually look accurate. So I did have to, even though I downloaded a lot of them, I still had to alter them so that they like looked okay. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I am planning on, let's see, let's just bring this up. Hide that. Don't need to see that. I do like have a list of things that I want to add. Like, I think, like I didn't get to add body shape, like is actually in the Mii Maker. Picker snaps. This is so to make it so that the picker doesn't slide smoothly and instead snaps. This is something I'm already working on. And I already have that working. I just have to make sure that it works for everything. Stretchy limbs, like right now the limbs will scale up as, let's see, the limbs scale up if I move them far away like that. That's just like how they work. Which that's just how it works by default. This wasn't like a very conscious decision where I'm like, oh, wouldn't it be funny if it scaled up? No, that's just how it works in, let's see, inverse, no, must be in here. Yeah, IK stretch. So if I turn this off, then this is how it works. It will just kind of snap completely straight instead. And, for a lot of things, I think that's fine. But I think having it stretch and scale a little instead of like snapping like that can look okay. So I was like, I'll just do that. It'll be better. And I do like it more than it just like being constrained. I think it's a little better, but it would be nice if this actually paid attention to like the volume and would like, scale it appropriately to, get skinnier or whatever as it gets longer. And right now I'm pretty sure that does not work with the maintain volume. Yeah, like you can add a maintain volume and it just doesn't really pay attention to it. So I think I would have to, let's see. Yeah, no, it doesn't even treat it like it's changing volume, even though it is scaling in size. So yeah, I know there are ways to do it. I've looked up ways. I have attempted to do it, but it's so cumbersome that I just don't even bother most of the time. But yeah, that's a thing that I want to add is like properly, proper stretchy limbs. More animations. I think it could be funny to have just like, instead of only 300 frames, have this be like 3000 and it's just like an idle animation and every like second or two a new thing happens. So some of them I think could be like pretty normal, just looking around, stuff like that. Some of them could be like little dances or whatever to be like a little funnier. I think that could be nice. And could like make for better content too, just like during challenges and stuff. Now there are more options for more options of things people can do, see how their character moves. Roughness control, I talked about that just to like have overall roughness. And then different colors. Beauty mark color, that's another thing that like right now there is no color for the beauty mark, it's just black. And it would be nice to be able to change that because you could use it for a lot of, other things basically other than just a beauty mark. Snap controls. I was thinking of adding a little bone somewhere to make it so that I can turn snapping on and off for the face so that, if you want the eye to snap to the face, then it does automatically, but then you can turn it off. I think that would be nice. And exporting. Right now, there's no good way to export like the way that I did it with let's see, I'll just open it up and show you. The way that I did it for the animations, where I have multiple Mii characters in there, it's literally just importing all of the objects for every character. So it gets kind of heavy after a while. It's going to take a second to load. Okay, so you can see over here, I have the crowd. Batman has all of the parts in here as well. So does this one, like all of them have a bunch of parts, and it's not ideal. Basically, when I import it, I was just like appending the whole file, so that like, or the whole collection, the whole parent collection, and then just like hiding everything that's inside of it. And it works clearly, like I got it to work, but it's not a very graceful solution. And also like trying to bake all of the, you know, if you want to bake the images and the color and stuff to like a single color, to a single image, then like that's a little harder too, because there are like a bunch of images on planes and things that don't use images. So it's just like a lot to mix. And I think I didn't really set up UV maps for anything either. So yeah, exporting is not very easy right now. Basically, what I would recommend if you want to, let's just open up this one. If you want to export right now, the easiest way is to just like put it in a T-pose like this, and then you can just like select everything. Let's see, is this? Oh, I already did this for this one. I don't know why, out of all of the things that I could choose, I don't know why I chose this one. All right, let's just go to this one. All right. Okay, so what I would recommend is you can just put this in a T-pose. So go to pose controls, Alt-G, Alt-R, Alt-S, then just select everything right here. Oh, I can't do that. I have to do it in object mode. Select everything over here, and then right click. Oh, you have to, sorry, you need to have an active selection. So make sure one of them is yellow. Right click, convert to mesh, and then you can Control J. Yes, and then it will merge everything into a single object. And then if you go into edit mode, now you can see that everything is editable, and you can export this as like a single thing. You could probably like bring this to Mixamo to get animated, but the problem is that you won't really have any of the images, or you won't have a lot of the colors that are being used through here. So it's kind of annoying, but yeah, that's a thing I need to work on also. I'm not really sure how to do that. So if anybody has a good idea, let me know. I know this is a long video, so I appreciate you watching it. I hope you have fun with it. And yeah, that's it. Have a good one.